Welcome to Trading Nation. I'm Sara Eisen. Check out the U.S. dollar jumping to fresh 2018 highs on Wednesday. The dollar is now up more than 5% from its February low. So how should you be playing it? Boris Schlossberg is with BK Asset Management. Frank Cappelleri is with Instinet. Boris, a lot of love for the dollar lately. How far can this run?
Oh, it can run farther because the trend here is very much your friend, simply because U.S. yields and U.S. growth is the fastest in the world, or at least in the industrialized world at this point. The Fed seems to be very gung-ho on at least 3 and very likely 4 rate hikes before the end of the year, while everybody else is staying still. So it just seems like a very natural flow into the dollar as we go forward. It's going to attract more and more carry traders as yields go up. And that's going to put a very firm bid underneath it. Plus the fact that across the pond, you have all sorts of issues now. The UK is having issues with Brexit. Europe is now maybe having issues with Italy. So there are idiosyncratic issues on the other side of the Atlantic that are weakening those currencies while the dollar remains relatively well bid.
Frank, what are some groups that you see benefiting from a rising dollar?
Yes, sir. Well, I think we have to go with the ones that have been outperforming so far. And we'll start with the IWM small cap ETF. Here it is. And obviously near new high here today. And we know that this started to, it's kind of hard to see down here, but it started to outperform as the dollar started to go up. I will caution one thing is that the dollar is actually getting close to this resistance point, 93.94 area. So that's obviously going to impede any real breakout attempts for the Russell if this continues like that. Going to the next chart, looking at the IWC microcap ETF. Microcap is obviously tiny, about an average of $500 million market cap within this. And the cool thing about this is that IWC has actually been performing better than small caps. We see this here over the last 4 months. This is relative to the small cap index. So that has actually helped it push to new all-time highs before a small cap. So it's more exposure to dollar, obviously much more influenced by it. And lastly, we talked about this last time, the retail XRT ETF. We wanted to see this breakout here through this inverse head and shoulders bottom. And we're getting that. Hopefully you get to see the new highs again soon. Now, again, we're near this on a relative basis, too. We'll caution one thing is that the XRT still has just about 40 of its components reporting over the next 2.5 weeks. So it's really going to give us an indication if this breakout is real or not.
Boris, what could halt the dollar's ascent here?
Well, a couple of things. What's interesting about Frank's charts really is if you think about this, it's basically an implied bet on U.S. growth, which is really what the dollar strength is all about. The one caveat here, of course, is if the market begins to become concerned about deficit growth. And that, of course, is also essentially an implied bet on U.S. growth, because if we have strong growth, deficit is not going to be as large. But if the deficit begins to be large and we're not getting the tax revenues, then the market is going to become much more concerned about that, and the dollar could weaken simply on balance sheet issues. But apart from that, there's very little to see on the horizon that really threatens the dollar at this point. It looks pretty
What about a trade war?
A trade war, too, yes. I mean, so all of the geopolitical things that we can't predict could derail the situation. You're right. I mean, we could have, a blow up in Strait of Hormuz could also have lots of, risk aversion trades as well. But if you sort of assume that we're just essentially going to go steady as she goes for the rest of the year, there's very little in the path here because U.S. is clearly outperforming the rest of the world, and the Fed is much tighter or much more hawkish than anybody else in the G7 universe. All of that really adds up to more flows into the dollar as we go forward.
All right, guys, thank you. We will leave it there, Boris and Frank. And thank you all for watching Trading Nation. I'm Sara Eisen. We'll see you next time.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.